Hello and welcome to the Sunday Shout. In a slight format change, we will be uploading the podcast every weekend to discuss the issues of the past week. I'm Paul Ellis and joining me as usual is Johnny Martin. Welcome,
Paul?
Johnny.
Hi Paul, how are you?
I'm not too bad. We'll crack on.
You well.
We should start the show with talking about the corruption and bribery scandal that's dogged the heart of FIFA. I mean, we all know that corruption's been in football for many years. I mean, you look at the fixture scandal with Italy and Germany and even referees. But to come from the heart of the world's governing body for football, you don't know where to start, Johnny.
You don't, and that in itself is the problem. You mentioned there about Italy and Germany and the referees, the corruption there, and you can criticise them as individuals, but when you look to the world governing body, and they're all at it as well, it's, where do you draw the line?
The thing is, I mean, for me, you look at those members like Sepp Blatter, Bin Hammar and Jack Warner, you look at them, there should be men with integrity and a purpose to actually serve the game to the right manner. And to find out that they've been taking bribes to get like political votes and the World Cup for Qatar was just ridiculous. I mean, we don't know how true these are. I mean, obviously it'll come out in the coming weeks and months whether they did bribe the World Cup 22, but it's just insane.
It really is, and like you said, Jack Warner, particularly some of the allegations made about him by the BBC documentary about him selling tickets on the black market for his own profits, that in itself is absolutely disgusting considering the cost of the Champions League tickets that have just been sold.
Oh, totally. I mean, some of them tickets go on for like £170. I mean, what sort of person in this current climate could afford that?
Well, a footballer.
Well, aside from a footballer, but like, the normal working class family man couldn't really afford that, really. For one football match, I don't think it's worth it.
Absolutely, and then that just underlines the whole problem with FIFA. You know, it's a completely cut-off world that they're living in. Everything they want, they have. You know, they feather their own nest, and that's how they work. You know, just the same as politicians, really. You know.
Well, I mean, the one thing that stands out for me, I mean, there are many problems within this issue, but you look at the Football Association, they actually disproved against the election going ahead. I mean, Sepp Blatter was the only guy opposing for it because Bin Hammar pulled out after he was found out to be, well, not found out he's being corrupt, but you know, he was kind of up for allegations of bribery from the Caribbean Union. And, I mean, you look at the vote, I mean, it was something like 170 to 17 in favour of going ahead with the campaign. It just shows the gulf between between FIFA and the FA. I mean, that's a relationship that's never going to be ended.
Oh, absolutely, and it just underlines the point. You know, the Football Association of England run football, you know, for the benefit of football, not for the benefit of themselves, which is a different, wholly different attitude to the way FIFA run it. And like you say, that whilst the two groups run their affairs differently, there's never going to be peace between them.
Well, no, you look at Sepp Blatter, I've never thought he was the right man for the job, even 8 years ago when he was re-elected unopposed. I mean, I always look at someone like Franz Beckenbauer, a man with integrity and respect within football, and he'd be perfect. I don't know why people view Blatter as the right president. I just don't understand it.
I know there's plenty of people in the world of football who could do a far better job than Sepp Blatter can. But whilst the established order are there, no one will ever be able to challenge them because no one will ever have a fair crack of the whip to get in there.
Well, no, they all say that both the 2018 and 2022 World Cups, the hosts were already decided before they even went to the Congress on December 2nd. That was the whole point. I mean, England built up our bid thinking we were going to get it, but ended up only getting 2 votes. I mean, that's aside from the issue of corruption and bribery, but
I don't think it is aside from the issue, to be honest. I think that underlines the corruption and bribery issue altogether. Well, Lord Treisman has come out and said, you know, FIFA members were asking for bribes. We yet to see any evidence of that, and I dare say we never will as members of the public. But, you know, for the chairman of the Football Association to publicly speak out against the world governing body is, in my view, more than enough evidence for than what you need to prove that they are corrupt. And certainly the way the results went, how we were, in many polls, we were expected to do very well, win the bid, and then all of a sudden we had no votes at all, which obviously is extremely disappointing. So and it sort of coincided with the BBC Panorama programme about corruption in FIFA, which obviously FIFA claimed was just a coincidence and the two weren't linked, but I strongly disagree with that opinion. I think FIFA are a completely and utterly corrupt organisation, and the fact that the Football Association and the British government were refusing to kowtow to their demands, and the BBC exposed them for what they really are, they turned around and said, well, England aren't going to get the World Cup. And that was just the way it happened.
Well, of course, as I said, the FA were totally against the election going ahead whilst FIFA members were under investigation for corruption. But the one thing about the 2022 World Cup is that FIFA themselves had issues over the heat levels within Qatar, which could even pose a problem to those who cannot acclimatise. Yet they gave the World Cup to Qatar. I don't see the logic.
No, I mean, I'm all for diversification, and South Africa, for a case point, was absolutely brilliant. Taking it to a country that hadn't had it before, taking it to a part of the world that hadn't had it before, and expanding the game. I'm all for that, but to have a Summer World Cup in a country where it reaches 40 degrees Celsius, where the vast majority of countries who will be competing in that are not used to that temperature. I mean, we're all very aware of the unrest in the Middle East at the moment. Whether that will settle down by then, we'd hope so. But I think it's very, very much a case of, without wishing to cast aspersions on Qatar as a country, that part of the world is very, very rich at the moment. And if a country was, able to pay for a bribe, Qatar would be that country. It's a very, very rich country. So there are certain things that add up with this argument.
It does feel like the fire that Qatar is a rich country, which heightens the bribery allegations, of course. But looking at it from a perspective, Blackhead has vowed to reform from within, and Jeff Warner and Bin Hammam are still suspended by the Ethics Committee. I don't see how there is any way forward for it. I mean, they're still going to be in power because Blackhead doesn't have the credibility to deal with issues under his nose, issues he's already aware of. He tried to get rid of Chuck Blazer, who was the whistleblower on the corruption claims against Warner and Bin Hammam, and he couldn't even remove him, so how can he reform when he wants to remove people, but he can't?
Well, that proves the point. He tried to get rid of the whistleblower. He's got himself a nice cushy little nest egg there, and anyone who's trying to take that away from him, i.e. Bin Hammam, and I think you said it, the whistleblower, he's going to do his best to remove them, but for himself, he's clearly there for his own interests and not for the interests of world football, which is very, very damaging.
Well, you can only hope for the world of football that everything improves imminently. Moving on now to England and Fabio Capello. Leading up to the game, we all thought England were going to stroll over Switzerland. It would be a formality. Switzerland are good enough. But of course, it comes to the game. Switzerland dominated it while looking the more accomplished side, and we were fortunate enough to escape with a draw. Overall, it was just a terrible performance.
It was terrible. And again, the sort of complacent attitude that England have, where you think we're the best, we're just going to turn up and win, we don't have to bother, play the usual 4-4-2, play the usual suspects of Milner down the left and Barry down the right, and think we're going to win with that calibre of player, and it's just not the case. Switzerland turned up, knew what game England were going to play, and counter-attacked that game very, very well indeed, and in the end we were very, very fortunate to get away with a draw.
Oh, there were. I mean, what annoys me the most when it comes to internationals, I think it even happens when English teams play in Europe, it's the way the media build it up. I don't mind them covering it, it's their job, it's in the public interest to do it well, but it's the way that they report it, saying the opponents are inferior, they're not good enough, we should just roll them over, we should go out with a pipe and slippers on. I think that just leads to complacency. I mean, Switzerland are a dangerous side. They already proved that when they beat Spain in the World Cup. Doesn't that say enough for them?
It certainly does, and I mean, like you say, the media attention that goes around England, there's always going to be a lot of media attention around the England team. But if they were professional enough, they should be able to shut that out and get on with the job in hand, which was beating Switzerland and getting themselves in a decent position for the qualifiers. Fortunately enough, for England, who was it they were relying on? They only drew as well.
Montenegro,
that's right. Fortunately for England, Montenegro only drew as well. So they're still in pole position. But they should be able to, as professional footballers, block out all of this media nonsense and get on with the job in hand. And they certainly didn't do that against Switzerland.
You say that, I think you raise a good point within that. Does that mean Capello's not good enough? I mean, I've always thought he should have gone after South Africa because he couldn't handle the situation then, and he can't handle the game against Switzerland. So I'm sorry, I don't see why he's still there.
I don't think he should have even have been there in the first place, never mind after South Africa. And the guy, I mean, fair play to him, he's learned the language, but how can a football association of a country employ a man on such a salary that he's on to manage their national team when he can't even speak the language of what the players are speaking? It's absolutely ludicrous.
Well, I mean, I totally agree with that. It only becomes an issue when England draw or lose. But you hear him in interviews, I mean, the one after the Switzerland game, and he still can't speak fluent English. Oh, we could be here for hours if he discussed his Chinese claims, which is complete garbage. But yeah, he tells us he can communicate.
It's complete rubbish. The guy is out of his depth managing England. He's done well as a club manager in Italy. Managing England, he is totally and utterly out of his depth, and the guy hasn't got a clue what he's doing. He should have gone after South Africa. The only reason he didn't go was because the FA would have had to have paid him a huge compensation. Let's not beat around the bush. Everyone's very, very aware of that. I think it was Mark Lawrenson who made the point during South Africa. Why can't the Football Association give England managers a contract for a tournament? And if they do well in that tournament, they get the contract extension. Why do they have to give them 5-year contracts that last 2 or 3 tournaments? It's absolutely ludicrous.
Well, I think most nations do. Well, other than England, of course. But I'll just disagree with one point you made there. I don't think Capello is a bad manager. Far from it. It's kind of like the Steve McLaren thing. Yeah, okay, he didn't do that well at international management. I think he was way too soon in his career to make that leap. But I don't think Capello is an international manager. I mean, you look at his club career with Real Madrid, Roma, I think he was at Juventus for a while. He's an outstanding club manager. I just don't think his time with England makes him a terrible manager, but...
I wasn't alluding to that point. I did say that he's done well as a club manager, but everyone's agreeing on the point here that he's completely out of his depth with England at the moment.
You have to question as well, are the players good enough? Is it just the manager, or are our current crop of players never ever going to compete with the likes of Germany and Spain?
No, I disagree. I think we're more than capable of reaching those heights if we play the right team on the right occasion, which we do not. That is England's problem. We stick with a core, say 6 or 7 or 8 players, and chop and change the last 4 or 5, which is not the way to play football. I'm talking the likes of John Terry and Rio Ferdinand at the back. Rio Ferdinand hasn't played a great deal of football this season, and obviously I'm going to be slightly biased as an Evertonian, but Phil Jagielka has been absolutely rock solid at the back all season for club, and that kind of form should reward you with an international place. And Rio Ferdinand is automatically picked alongside John Terry, if they're both fit, every single England game, irrespective of how other centre-backs are playing, which is England's problem. And the likes of Steven Gerrard, again, whether he's playing well, Gareth Barry, James Milner, Emil Heskey sums up his attitude to management of England. How can Emil Heskey go to a World Cup and Darren Bent be left at home? It's absolutely bizarre, and that just sums up England's problems. The manager doesn't know what 11 players to put on the pitch at the right time. We've got the talent and we've got the quality. We just need to get the balance right of that talent and quality.
Well, Capello's already leaving after Euro 2012. We've known that for a while now. But honestly, I think we should get rid of him now. If we want to do well in the tournament, if we're in it, perhaps, then I can't see how Capello can lead us there.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the guy is way out of his depth, way out of control. He doesn't pick the right players. I mean, for me, Harry Redknapp's the obvious choice, I think, to replace him. And like I said, he's going after the Euros, and I think the only reason he hasn't gone before the Euros is because he would have to get a humongous payout from the FA, which they didn't want to have to pay off his contract, and that's the only reason he's still in the job.